Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to demystify exactly how AI agent loops work, and more importantly, how you can use them to literally buy back your time. Look, the AI space is moving incredibly fast right now, and if you're feeling a little overwhelmed or even just kind of confused about what an AI agent actually is, well, you're absolutely not alone. But don't worry, we're going to break this down simply so you can actually put it to work. To really grasp why this matters right now, consider this staggering number: 170 million. By 2030, AI is projected to create 170 million new jobs. But here's the catch. These aren't going to be jobs where you just sit around chatting with an AI. No, these will be jobs where you're actively building and managing AI agents. Knowing how to build these agents, that's going to be a massive, massive competitive advantage for you.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at chatbots versus agents. Second, we'll go inside the DATA loop. Third, the rule of R. Fourth, building with agent. And fifth, trusting the loop. Let's kick things off with section 1, chatbots versus agents. You see, the core difference between the AI you're probably using right now and the AI you should be building is, frankly, profound. Think of a standard chatbot like a meeting. It constantly pulls on you, right? You have to ask it a specific question, prompt it, and then wait for an answer. An AI agent, on the other hand, is a lot more like hiring a dedicated employee. It pushes updates to you. You just give it an outcome and it runs entire workflows, doing the work and just checking in to make sure it did everything right. Honestly, you might save a few minutes with a chatbot, but with an agent, you learn to let go of entire areas of work. Which brings us to section 2, inside the data loop. The literal brain of the whole operation, the real engine behind an agent, is what we call the data loop. Data stands for diagnose, assemble, take action, and assess. First, it diagnoses a problem, kind of like a consultant. Next, it acts as an architect to actually assemble a plan. Third, it takes action and executes the tasks. And finally, and seriously, this is where the magic happens, it assesses its own work. You know, basic automations just do a job and then stop. But this continuous autonomous cycle, that is exactly what separates a true agent from just some simple script. Because of this continuous loop, assessing its own work, checking for errors, the agent actually iterates. It keeps learning. It keeps getting better. Actually, in a lot of ways, it begins to act much more like a real person trying to solve a problem, rather than just a machine blindly following a rigid line of code. Okay, section 3, the rule of R. Now, before we just go handing off all of our daily work to this autonomous loop, we need a reliable way to figure out if a task is even worth an agent's time in the first place. This is absolutely crucial. You have to filter your tasks through what we call the rule of R. First, is it repetitive? Like, do you do it every single week? Second, is it rules-based? Meaning, does the same input generally give you the same output? And third, is there a return on time? I mean, if a manual task takes you 2 minutes, but it would take 2 weeks to build an agent for it, just do the task. But if a task passes all 3 R's, well then you're ready to build. Moving on to section 4, building with agent. So once a task passes the rule of R, we can start building the body around our data loop. And we do this using a super handy 5-step framework, conveniently spelled agent. The A stands for aim. You absolutely must define a specific outcome for the agent, starting with the why way before the how. You do this by creating a concrete definition of done. So for example, if you're building an inbox manager agent, you don't just say, hey, handle my emails. No way. Your definition of done is, every morning at 9 a.m., the inbox is empty, replies are drafted in my voice, and VIPs are flagged. Think about it. If the agent can't see the target, it literally can't hit it. G is for give it an identity. Without an identity, an AI is basically a genius with infinite potential, just sitting alone in an empty room, having no idea what to do. But 3 plain English files completely solve that. You've got the soul file, which dictates behavior, like telling it to be totally concise with 0 corporate fluff. Then there's the identity file, which gives it a name and a role, maybe something fun like Amelia Emelia, inbox manager. And finally, the user file. This tells the agent exactly who you are, so it truly understands your context. E means equip it with context. I want you to think of the agent's context window kind of like a physical desk. On this desk, it has its identity files, its step-by-step playbooks, and all the tools it needs to execute its tasks. But, and this is a big warning here, beware of context rot. If you clutter this desk with way too much irrelevant info, the agent gets confused, it slows down, and it makes mistakes. You have to keep the desk incredibly clean and highly relevant to its specific job. Now, the absolute best way to equip your agent with these playbooks is what we call the reverse engineer method. Seriously, instead of sitting down and manually typing out some 20-page manual on exactly how you write emails, just connect the AI directly to your Gmail. Have it read your last 50 interactions. Let it study your unique tone, your typical greetings, your sentence length, the whole shebang. Then just have the AI write its own custom style guide. It is so incredibly efficient. N reminds us to narrow the scope. Look, it is a huge mistake to ask one single mega agent to write code, design your marketing graphics, and sort your emails. That leads right back to that context rot we just talked about. The real secret to a highly functioning AI system, using subagents. You want one hyper-focused specialist per job that keeps their context window crystal clean and ensures their output is practically perfect. So you might be wondering, how do you manage all these different subagents? Easy. You build a manager agent. Let's call him Kai. Kai's only job is orchestration. You talk to Kai, and then Kai delegates the specific tasks out to the coding agent, the research agent, the inbox agent, whoever. Once the subagents finish the work, Kai pulls it all together and reports straight back to you. So you only ever have to communicate with one brilliant manager.
Oh, and a quick pro tip for you as you build, you gotta match the AI model's brain power to the actual task. You definitely do not need to pay for an expensive, highly complex model like Opus or Fable just to sort your emails every 15 minutes. Instead, use a fast, cheap model like Haiku for that simple, high-volume sorting. Use Sonnet for your daily drafting, and save those expensive Opus models purely for your manager agents and really complex reasoning. Honestly, getting this right can literally drop a task's cost from like $150 all the way down to $1.50. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Trusting the Autonomous Loop. The final letter in our framework, T, brings us to what is probably the hardest psychological hurdle of this entire explainer: trust. Let me be clear, you absolutely do not hand over the keys to the car on day one. You have to build trust in stages. On day one, you set strict guardrails. For example, maybe it can only draft emails, but it can never ever hit send. In week 1, you review and manually approve everything. As it starts to prove itself, by week 2, you can loosen the leash a bit. And finally, by week 3, you give it a heartbeat, a recurring schedule where it just runs completely autonomously in the background without you constantly checking in. Truly learning this loop and getting comfortable taking your hands off the wheel puts you ahead of 99% of people out there right now. But it does require you to learn how to let go. So I want to leave you with this final thought. If an autonomous AI agent effectively managed your inbox and all your most repetitive tasks, literally buying back hours of your week, what higher level goals would you finally have the time to pursue? Start thinking about your answer, because guys, that future is already here. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.